Hey there, and welcome to this video on how to take a day off as a business owner, featuring clips from a real day off in my life in the beautiful city of Prague. I wanted to make this video because as a freelancer and then business owner, I honestly struggled for a really long time with taking proper time off. I was really bad at it. When I first started freelancing, nobody really implemented any boundaries for me the way 9-to-5 companies normally do. So I just worked every single day, through the weekend, through holidays, because when you're working, you're making money, so that direct correlation was too good to deny. And anytime I thought about taking some time off, like the weekend or like holidays, I would think, what would I even do with time off? Like, time off sounds super unproductive. I like my work, I love doing it, why should I take time away from it? It also like starts to get really messy when you begin to like attach your self-worth and sense of purpose solely to how much work you output, which I was 100% definitely doing. So yeah, it was not a good concoction. And for a while, people did tell me like, you can't go on like that forever. And I was like, I can and I will, I shall, if you will. But they were right. I couldn't go on like that forever because I started to get really exhausted and frustrated and demotivated over longer and longer periods of time. So not just feeling demotivated over like a few hours or a day, but for multiple days and then weeks. And what eventually gave me a little perspective was someone said to me something along the lines of like, would you treat someone on your team this way? Would you talk to them the way you talk to yourself about taking time off? And I mean, immediately I was like, no, I would never, right? Like I would never. If someone on my team worked the way that I did back then, I would tell them like, that's it. Stop your work, like we're implementing boundaries for you right now. You're banned from working on the weekends, like log off and go do something fun. I promise that you are bigger than just your work. Like your worth is inherent to you. It's not tied to your hours at the laptop. It is not something you have to prove to anybody. This is not healthy long term. So like, let's put some things in place so you don't feel like you have to do this. So after that, I began trying to take time off, trying being the keyword. It was really hard because I didn't realize like taking time off was a skill I had to relearn slowly and get good at again because I had drilled into myself this habit of working all the time. And there was a lot of guilt and shame around the topic internally of taking time off. But now a few years later, I don't work on the weekends or in the evenings at all. I take holiday. I don't even open my laptop on the weekends now. So if this is something you struggle with, here's my little step-by-step process of how I personally slowly learned to take proper time off as a business owner and the way that it actually stuck. And this is kind of like a brief note. If you're watching this thinking like, this is so silly, I know how to take time off, then congratulations, that's awesome for you. This video is probably not meant for you. If you still want to hang out, great, but it's probably not meant for you if you're already really good at taking time off. Hey, my name is Dea, freelancer, digital business manager, and most recently entrepreneur. And as always, you can find sections on the play bar below if you would like to skip to a certain part of the video. Your time is precious, so take what you need. And if you want to watch this on 2x, I won't be offended. I watch myself on 2x. All right, let's dive into the video. So here's the step-by-step process I went through personally to really make the time and then properly enjoy the time off, not just sit there. So the first step is acceptance. And I know this is kind of a weird first step, but it's an important one because acceptance and recognition of the importance of time off to recharge is what will force you to prioritize it and actually make it happen. So honestly, looking at what's currently going on in your work-life balance, are you happy with the balance as it is? And, you know, a lot of times I talk to a lot of freelancers, like my students and everybody in my program, and they feel very fundamentally bad for asking for time off. And that's really sad because time off is a normal thing to want. It is not something you should feel bad asking for or taking yourself if you're a business owner. Everyone needs and deserves time off to relax and unwind and recharge. We're not machines, and we're also not meant to work as much as we already do. So the first step is being honest with yourself and listening to that self-talk happening when you consider taking a day off or, you know, an afternoon off. What's going on? What are the voices that are popping up? And working through those and then accepting why you want to make this a priority for yourself. So here are 3 things I reminded myself a lot of to help me accept that I wanted to make this actually a thing that I would do. The first was, I'm someone beyond just work. Like I have interests, I have people in my life I care about, and that's worth exploring even if it's not productive, whatever that means. Like my happiness, having fun, joy, spontaneity, those are all worthwhile pursuits. They're not wasted time. Second thing is, if you really think about it, like if I get some perspective for myself, it's like nothing is truly urgent or an emergency in most businesses. My business activities are not so critical to humanity that I need to check my emails on the weekend. I'm not a surgeon, like lives do not depend on me to work in the evenings. Like, will my business burn down? Really, like realistically, honestly, if I take a day or two off? The answer is no. And the third one is, I read this article a few years back on the top things people say they regret on their deathbeds. And one of them was, I wish I hadn't worked so much. So that gives me a lot of perspective. It's like, at the end of my life, what will be important to me? I think what will be important to me is that I led a kind, thoughtful, happy life filled with little present moments and experiences, and that has literally nothing to do with how much work I am outputting. So have a think about that, write those down. Step 2 is starting to create your boundaries. Boundaries are essential because they are lines in the sand. They allow you to detach fully in a structured way. It doesn't feel like random, the time off. You know, work shouldn't be endless and feel never ending. There needs to be an off switch at some point, and boundaries are a great way to say, like, this is the line, like this is where it stops. If you currently have clients or customers, make sure you establish those boundaries, obviously with them, clearly and ideally in written format. Give your clients at least a few months notice in advance. I like to build it into my welcome packet as a freelancer. If you plan on taking an extended vacation, and make sure you make a clear plan for them of what will happen during your time off. Will you do the work ahead of time? Will someone else? Can you find someone to cover for you? As a freelancer, I think I worried a lot about taking time off because I thought my clients were going to be really mad, or they were going to be so mad that they were going to fire me for asking for time off, right? And they never were, honestly. Like, the only thing a client is thinking to themselves when you ask for time off is, how is this going? Like, what's going to change for me? How is this going to impact me? So if you lay out a plan for what will happen during your time off and how you're preparing ahead for it so that nothing really changes for the client, chances are they'll be like, great, have fun, tell me all about it. So pick one boundary. What boundary do you want to start with? Start slow. Is it to take the weekends off? Is it to turn off your laptop and not check emails after 7 p.m.? Is it to take 4 weeks of vacation a year? Write it down somewhere where you can see it so that you'll take it seriously. For me, my main 3 that I slowly over a few weeks implemented were: 1, I did not want to have my laptop open past certain points, like past 6 p.m. on weekdays, and I didn't even want to open it on weekends. I also took my work email off my phone because I noticed I was checking my emails a lot when it was on my phone. And I didn't want to do any work or even think about work on the weekends. And here's a tip. One thing that worked great for me was removing work triggers during my time off time. So basically anything that triggers me to go into my work mode, I removed. So for me, it was like, even just my laptop being open triggered me to work. As seeing I had unread emails triggered me to start like responding to them. Seeing unread Slack or Voxer messages triggered me to do that. Seeing business owners and competitors and people in my industry on social media, all of that stuff kind of got me into a place where I was like, okay, I need to like do stuff now. I need to like type on my computer and stuff. So I removed as much as possible all of those things from my evenings and my weekends, essentially, so that I could actually enjoy my time off. The next tip is really to start slow. Like, taking a full day off might be really hard if you've never done that. So pick like maximum 1, then like 2 non-negotiables for your ideal time off, and really have a think about what makes a good ideal day off for you. If you could design a day that is completely work-free, what would that look like? But don't pack it full of stuff. For me, it meant starting really slow with my morning, like no pressure morning, almost too slow, like listening to some music. I'm not like behind on anything, and no to-do list, because once I have a to-do list, I'm like in that work mode again. And sit at a cafe and good food. Those are like my 3 non-negotiables for time off. So have a think about what your non-negotiables are and write those down as well. And step 3 is a thing that I didn't realize I needed until I was so bad at taking time off. This really fixed it, and that is to pick an easy and non-competitive hobby so you can pass time. I found that time off was hard for me when I didn't know how to spend my time, if that makes sense. If you're someone really interesting and you have a bunch of hobbies already, then this step is not necessary for you. This is for those of you who were very boring like me, and I was like, hobbies? What are those? So having a hobby was really important to me to properly take time off. Otherwise, I just like sat there and like twitched my fingers, and then I would be like, let's see what's going on my laptop, and then I would end up working, you know? So a good indicator for me is if something triggers like that fun or exciting feeling inside of me, like that inner child is like, ooh, like what could that be like, you know? So some of my hobbies that I explored were like, first of all, reading. And that was really weird because I was so impatient about reading when I first started reading again. I had to like get good again at reading. Like I would just try to read and get impatient and put it away. So I really had to train myself to like sit and read books again. I also found that if I read nonfiction books on weekends, it would trigger me to think about work again. So I only tried to read fiction books on the weekend. Next thing I did was paint by the numbers, which is where you have like this painting and has like little numbers in it, and then like you paint it. It was really fun. Like it was really fun. I also am a big puzzler. I love puzzles, so I got some puzzles. Video games, like Steam has so many options of games, all kinds of genre, like really so many niche genres. I personally really like management style games and like organization games where I manage stores or spas or like restaurants, which is pretty funny to me because essentially my hobby became like a simulated version of my job where I didn't get paid, but that was really fun for me. And like you can always play like Sims and Bloons and Minecraft, League of Legends, you know, there's so many options. Like give them a try and see what you like. I also love card games. I also loved to buy courses and learn something for fun. Like I recently thought digital illustration might be kind of fun to learn. So I'll look up a course on Udemy or Skillshare and I'll just watch it and try it out. And even if I'm bad at it, just accept that sometimes I'm bad at stuff. Step 4 for me that was really good was going outside. So walking around the city in Prague, getting caught up somewhere, like it really helps me get perspective on how much bigger my life is than just my work and laptop. And honestly, leaving my work environment was so good for me because when I'm in my work environment, my mind is like still thinking about work and everything. And when I like remove myself from this environment, it just gives me so much more of an opportunity to be like, there are other people in the world, like look at that person, you know, like I wonder what their lives are like, and oh, like look at these people just living their best life, I wonder what they're up to, and oh, like there's a whole world outside my apartment, and you know, people doing all sorts of cool things. And yeah, that was really helpful for me personally. I also love to sit at cafes and like pick my book of the day and just focus on that book. That was really fun too. Max and I got really into booking escape rooms for some time. That was really fun. Getting snacks, like good food, is a non-negotiable for me. And yeah, relaxing and stuff like that. Step 5 that also helps me is doing something with somebody else. So like calling somebody like my grandma or family members or my sister. And something we started doing about a year ago on the weekends is every weekend we play Dungeons and Dragons with our siblings and friends. So basically we play it virtually and it is a lot of fun and it gets me out of that, again, it gets me out of that work mindset and it reminds me that I have things outside of work that I also really enjoy doing. And that's basically it. Like you'll soon realize like the world didn't fall down while you took some time off. It will get easier the more you do it. I honestly found that getting perspective gave me so much motivation to get back into work. It was so good for my creativity and my interests too. It made me so much more creative. And the fact that I wasn't, like I kind of banned myself from working. I was like, you're not even allowed to think about work on the weekends. It made me so much more excited to dive back into work again during the week. Like I was like, oh, I can't wait. Like I'm not allowed to right now, but I can't wait to get back into it. So if you're planning a day off in the coming months, let me know what you're gonna get up to on your day in the comments. I'd love to know because I'm nosy and maybe you have some good ideas that I will steal for myself. And that's it for today's video. Thanks for hanging out with me as always, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.